What is it? Hanako mentioned your birthday was earlier this year. Do anything special for it? She gives a long pause, lost in thought for a few seconds as she recalls the event. Not really, it was just Hanako and I having a little party during the night after school. Did you get drunk and sleep together? Your birthday's supposed to be a big event, you know. Sounds like a pretty lonely way to spend a birthday, just she and Hanako staying overnight. Well, she has to look after Hanako. They are best friends. Birthdays always felt like a family occasion for me. They were a time when, in spite of their full-time jobs, both my parents would make an effort to be there for the day, or at least I'm just dying, it's alright. Or at least a party beforehand. Ugh. It reminds me of how Lilly mentioned she hadn't seen her family in such a long time, and even ended up moving away from Akira's house afterwards. I need a drink. Good stuff. But I guess it's the same in situations as mundane as these. Considering her inability to read the packaging, just getting groceries would be a pain without somebody else around. In the end, she just has Hanako and I and Akira when she's off from work. Be that as it may, she still seems to have many more distant friends among the students, not to mention people like Yuko. It seems to be her own choice that there's such a separation between those who are close to her and those who are only socialise with. It humbles me a little to see how much Lilly seems to have her life set up and going just as she wants. Yet Hanako is there for her to celebrate her birthday, and I'm here helping her with shopping. It's a weird kind of symbiosis, I suppose. Are you alright, Hisao? Sorry? You just seem to go very quiet, that's all. Sorry, I was just thinking. Oh? Ah, now I've piqued her curiosity. It feels kind of overly personal to talk about, though. Well... I'm gonna save. I'm not too sure. Okay, hang on. So we've got... Tell the truth or avoid... No, we definitely want to tell the truth. Yeah, we definitely want to tell the truth. It was just kind of... I was thinking about how you seem to have everything so sorted out. Even with Hanako relying on you, I can admit that even I kind of relied on you when I first transferred in. I think it's a good quality to have. In turn to Lilly, surveying her reaction. I turned to Lilly, sorry. She's forcing herself to look forward and furrowing her brow quite a bit. Her face looks a bit awkward, as if she was trying to just find the right words. Lilly? I would thank you, but assuming that I don't rely on the presence of others is too much, you'd be wrong to think that Hanako simply depends on me with nothing in return. She seems to have a bit of trouble saying it, even though it's largely what I thought already. If she's tried so hard to maintain her independence, as anyone would have had to do in her position, cited or not, maybe she finds it hard to talk about her own needs. It's only now that I realise an omission in what she says, though, I decide to follow it up, largely in jest, to avoid things getting too personal. Oh, and what about me? The hell? She suddenly runs ahead of me and turns, blocking me off. Ooh. With a smile, she holds her hands behind her as she leans forward. You're different. And with that, she turns back and continues to walk ahead of me, a new found spring in her step. I find that incredibly cute. All I can do is raise an eyebrow and give a dazed grin. I don't think I've ever seen this playful and teasing side of her before. Yeah, no. So, I am different. It's hard to work out the exact context, but knowing her, this ambiguity, fuck. Don't say it. Was intended. Our relationship has been changing, at the very least simply because I've begun to stand on my own feet more and started getting more curious about the situation of those around me. As to why, probably a mix of personal curiosity and I want to try and work out how to deal with my situation. I'm less sure of Lilly though, that's why her own statement, so similar to my own feeling towards her, throws me off so much. Watching her make her way up the street, cane tapping from left to right, I decide to settle the matter later, and just smile. This is a nice side to her, and I don't want to forget it. I can just imagine her just running in front of me and then... Oh, that's cute. I like that. Eventually we get to the girls' dormitories, both my arms aching from the weight of 2 sets of groceries. Oh, we're finally here. Phew! I bend down to wipe my forehead with the back of my hand. Lilly stops in front of her door and sets down her bag, fishing around in her pocket for the key. Thank you, Hisao. I really appreciate your help. This is nothing. It might be nothing for you, but it's definitely something for me. I think I have to find a different voice for her playful mood. Playful and cute mood, because it doesn't really suit when she's like that. And with that, she steps through her door, closing it behind her. Oh, fine. See ya. Jeez. I blink. Those were nothing but honest things, but I can't help feeling something different about them. Anyway, I have something else to do before I can mull on that at my leisure. I turn back to the door to Hanako's room and proceed to knock twice in quick succession. The bag's still in my hand, rustling together. Oh, you don't look too good. You kinda look a bit sad. And you're still in your school clothes. After a couple of seconds, the door slowly opens. If one weren't looking closely, they could be forgiven for thinking it hadn't moved at all. I twist my head to the side and try to peer through the tiny sliver of a gap between the door and the door frame. Hey Hanako, I got your stuff. Ah! With that, she opens the door completely, making her plain room visible over her shoulder. Sparsely decorated, it's probably even more unremarkable than my room. I hold out my right arm, both bags almost pulling it straight back down with their weight. Oh, don't be such a bitch, Hisao. Thank you, Hisao. I'm sorry to make you carry them all this way. It's fine, don't worry. Just don't make me do it every day, okay? I pass the bags to her and I give a light-hearted chuckle. It's a terrible light-hearted chuckle. After the initial transfer of weight, she manages to take them easily. It's C. Don't be such a bitch, Hisao. I'll be off then. Night, Hanako. Good night. See you in class tomorrow. With a deep bow, her groceries still held in both hands, she steps back and shuts the door. Making my way back to my own dorm, I put one bag into my other hand to balance them out. Even as I do so, I can't get Lilly's light-hearted smile out of my mind. When I'd first met her, it would have been nearly impossible to imagine her like that. Indeed, it feels like we've become closer in the past few weeks since I got to know both she and Hanako. The time that I spend with her each day, the small exchanges of happiness we share, those small moments of joy as I get closer to her. I'm far from certain, but I don't think these are just the normal feelings of friendship. You don't say. Once I return to my room, I store away my groceries and begin getting ready for the night. Man, I wouldn't have even turned on the light, I would have just crashed. Oh, you're not going to look at that, are you? I swapped the school books in my bag for those I'll need tomorrow. Pulling out the yellow envelope Misha gave me earlier in the process. I got so sidetracked by one thing after another that I couldn't deal with it earlier. Who could have written me, I wonder? The name neatly adorning the back of the envelope freezes me in my tracks. It's been so long since I've seen her writing, there's a little chance I could have identified it as hers otherwise. Awanako. Why? she have written me? Why should she have written me? I can't think of any good reason for her to do this. I almost don't open the letter, but there'd be a little point to that. If I'd just left it alone, its mere existence would gnaw at me until I did something about it. Exactly. I know that feeling. I look down at the piece of paper on my desk, its bright and summery decoration beaming happily at me. The lettering is in pink, jarring badly with the yellow sunflower border or the card. The handwriting is neat, the characters having been written thoughtfully and with an unusual amount of care. I've barely given the letter a second thought when it is given to me, but now I can't get its contents out of my mind. While I'd like to say that I don't know why she used such an old-fashioned method of communication, considering a phone call or an email would be both much faster and easier, the answer feels obvious enough given the content. A letter leaves a comfortable distance between the sender and the recipient. Unlike a phone, it isn't required that you engage in conversation, and unlike email, there is less expectation of an immediate reply. Yeah, that's true. That would be awkward as hell if she called you, or you called her. You'd have nothing to say to each other. Statements such as, the third years seem to be very anxious just about the final exams, and it's so weird to think we are already seniors, isn't it? Are just small talk. Small talk that could have been achieved by simply replying to any of the messages I'd sent her while in hospital. The ending, though, is the true reason she sent this. The last couple of lines added almost as an afterthought. I wonder if we will meet again. Perhaps it's for the best if we don't? It's a statement that should hurt. I've always heard breakups are nasty stuff. They are indeed. But it feels like this is simply a reaffirmation of what we both already knew instead. It's the preceding text, no more than small talk, that makes me feel most uneasy. I can't figure out why, no matter how long I sit here and look down at this bright and summery piece of paper. If you would like to correspond with me, by all means write me back. It's plainly obvious that this is not the type of letter to be replied to. In the end, this letter is no more than a simple abdication of responsibility, a final statement to reassure herself that our relationship is over. Your relationship never started, Hisao. You had a heart attack when she asked you out. As such, I find I have little problem in scrunching the letter and envelope into a ball and tossing it into the waste bin, missing, picking it up again, tossing it, missing again, going further back, trying to do a slam dunk, missing again, and ending up just picking it up and putting it in the bin, ridding myself of its existence. I go to bed with mixed feelings, cheated out of a pleasant evening by this intruder from the past. Did you seriously just call her an intruder? Man, that's rude. Ironically, it takes a while before I can manage to sleep. Man, I have missed Katawa Shoujo, even though it's only been a day since I last... Well, it's actually been about 4 days since I last actually came on here and recorded some. I sweat profusely, awaiting the dreaded moment. I really... Hang on, what are we talking about here? Each tick of the clock, whoa, some seriously dramatic music. Each tick of the clock tenses my muscles that much more, every minute making more hair stand on end. It's coming for me. I can feel it. Death. Death is in the form of a single sheet of paper. Oh god, it's not exams, is it? I take the small pile of papers from the student in front of me and pass it backwards after plucking off the top piece. Looking to the top right of the page, I find my fears realized within that small red circle. 43. I hang my head... Oh, 43! God, Hisao, that is a horrible mark. I hang my head and sigh in resignation, cursing under my breath. Fuck. I can feel the aura of similar sentiment rising from the entire class. It's strange, but that fact lifts my mood by a minuscule amount. Misery loves company, I suppose. It does indeed. As the teacher opens his mouth, the room braces for the inevitable onslaught. Oh, only to be saved at the last minute by the bell. We quickly move to collect our bags and leave for lunch post-haste, but the teacher delivers a parting broadside. We'll be discussing the class test scores next lesson. Needless to say, there will be quite some discussion to be had. A collective groan resounds from the class, now reduced to shuffling out dejectedly. I push the sheet into my bag as I walk along the hallway, crumpling it in the process. It's enough that such a troublesome letter ended up on my desk yesterday, and now this. I hate English. Hisao! A stern female voice gruffly calls out from behind me. Oh god, I got the dramatic music again. Love this. I freeze on the spot, my face becoming like stone. It's as if I can feel my brain disconnected from my body. My eyes slowly shift right, trying to catch a glimpse of the disembodied voice. Nothing. My face begins to slip as time passes, and I decide to risk turning my head ever so slowly. I twist it to the yeah! I jump into the air and drop my bag, yelling out in surprise. As I recover and regain my composure, I turn to see. I should have oh, it's Misha, isn't it? Emmy? Oh. Gotcha, Hisao. She stands there with a mischievous grin on her face, hands forward and fingers pointed inwards. She was the one who jabbed my ribs with her fingers. I look down at her with a grimace, rubbing my hair in frustration. It's no way to greet someone, you know. You have no sense of humour. I left my sense of humour in my English class. Complained to the teacher if you want it given back to me. She pulls her best puppy dog eyes. I don't know. I've seen some better puppy dog eyes from her. As she pouts. Lily's managed to build up my resistance to the tactic, but Emmy's short stature adds enough to the effect to make me relent. So how are things? I haven't seen you around for a while. Same old. I run so fast nobody wants to join me on my morning runs. Maybe you should slow down. It's a real pain. Her modesty never fails to amuse me.